Right. So for this deep dive, we got some really fascinating sources looking at the UK from about 2015 right through to 2025. What a decade.
Yeah, quite the roller coaster. Some people are even calling it a perma-crisis, just this constant stream of shocks, political, economic.
Exactly. And our mission here is to cut through that noise, really dig into that cascade of events, look at how Britain's place in the world might have shifted, and tackle the really complex reality of immigration. We want to give you a bit of a shortcut to being properly informed. And honestly, digging through the material, there were some, well, surprising facts and paradoxes that popped out.
Definitely. It shows a nation that's been, profoundly reshaped. And it feels like it's at a real crossroads now.
It really does. I mean, when you look at the politics alone, the sources highlight this revolving door. 6 different prime ministers in just 8 years.
6. It's incredible, isn't it? That kind of churn. It just screams instability, a lack of consistent strategy.
Absolutely. And you can pretty much pinpoint the start, can't you?
Yeah.
The 2016 EU referendum, that 51.9% vote to leave, that was the moment everything tilted.
It really was the pivot point. And you see the consequences ripple through. Like, remember the Liz Truss mini budget?
Oh, yeah. Brief, but chaotic.
49 days. But the economic fallout was immediate, wasn't it? That $45 billion of unfunded tax cuts just spooked the markets completely.
A very stark example of politics directly hitting the economy.
And all that instability, that churn, it kind of culminated in the 2024 general election, didn't it? Which was, well, a historic defeat for the Conservatives.
It felt like a pretty decisive rejection of those preceding years.
Yeah.
People wanted stability.
I think so. Which brings us to the economy itself with all that political turmoil happening.
Yeah, what did happen to the economy? Because you hear so much about the productivity puzzle, like the UK just wasn't getting as much bang for its buck, workforce-wise.
That's right. And stagnant living standards alongside it. The overall GDP growth for the decade was, frankly, meager. About 1.5% compound annual growth. Not great.
Not great at all. But amidst that gloom, there was this really striking success story that jumped out from the sources, the green economy.
Oh, absolutely. That's the real contrast. While the wider economy was struggling, the green sector just, well, boomed. It grew over 10% in just 1 year.
10%. And renewables. Phenomenal
growth. By 2024, renewables generated over 50.8% of UK electricity. Think about that, up from just 14.2% back in 2015.
That is a massive shift. So it raises questions, doesn't it? Where does the UK economy actually perform well?
It does, because you contrast that green success with, say, the goods sector post-Brexit. Exports there really struggled, still below 2019 levels by the end of the period.
But services?
Services, which are what? Over 70% of the economy, remarkably resilient, exports significantly higher than pre-pandemic. So a very mixed picture.
But hanging over all this is the national debt, right? Getting close to 100% of GDP.
Yeah, nudging 100%. And that definitely limits the government's options, its room for maneuver going forward.
Okay, so that's the domestic picture. Let's shift gears internationally. Britain's standing. On paper, the sources say it still looks pretty strong. 6th largest economy, 6th most powerful military.
3rd in global soft power, too, as of 2025. So, yeah, top-tier ranking.
Sounds impressive.
Yeah.
Is there a but?
There's always a but, isn't there? Look, the City of London overall showed resilience, but, and it's a big but, the sources point to over 900 billion with a B in bank assets moving to EU hubs post-Brexit, just to maintain that easy market access.
900 billion. Wow. And what about that soft power ranking? Still 3rd, but...
Still strong, yes. But the sources do suggest that the political turmoil and some of the divisive rhetoric over the years, well, it strained the UK's reputation.
Made it harder to win friends and influence people.
Perhaps. And interestingly, the data showed China actually overtook the UK for the #2 spot in soft power by 2025. A subtle shift, maybe, but noted in the sources.
That's a really complex picture then. Strength, but also strains.
Exactly. And speaking of complexity, immigration, such a huge focus of debate throughout this whole decade.
Absolutely central. And the sources show this fundamental restructuring, don't they? After Brexit, a definite shift away from EU migration towards non-EU sources.
That's right. And it led to that record net migration figure, 764,000 in 2022. Primarily driven by specific routes, non-EU students, crucial work visas, especially for the NHS and care sectors, and humanitarian routes like for Ukraine and Hong Kong.
So here's the paradox the sources seem to highlight. The whole idea was taking back control of borders.
And yet the policy decisions made under that control directly led to record-high non-EU migration. Why? To fill labor shortages and meet specific economic needs.
It's quite the irony. What do the sources say about the economic impact of migrants?
Well, the data, particularly from the OBR, that's the Independent Office for Budget Responsibility, suggests migrants are, on average, net contributors to public finances. They actually help reduce long-term government debt.
So fiscally positive overall.
According to the forecasts, yes. But, and this is crucial for understanding public perception, the sources also acknowledge the very real, tangible pressure high migration flows can put on local resources. Things like housing, school places, GP appointments. That's felt at a community level.
Right, the national versus the local impact. And it's important we stick to the facts here. The sources are clear. There's no official, reliable estimate for the number of people in the UK without legal permission. We're talking about the legal migration figures.
Precisely, focusing on the statistical reality presented in the material.
So, okay, pulling it all together then.
Yeah.
Looking back at 2015 to 2025, the UK really does feel like a profoundly changed nation.
Definitely changed. And standing at, well, a critical crossroads seems about right. It still has these formidable strengths we've talked about.
Like the green economy, the services sector, its global influence.
Yeah. But also these really deep-seated weaknesses exposed or even caused by that decade of instability, the productivity issue, the political divisions.
So the big question left hanging really is, what happens next?
Exactly. Can the UK now actually harness those strengths to finally tackle the weaknesses? Can it reignite that productivity, maybe start mending some of those social and political divisions?
Can it forge a new, genuinely stable path forward after such a turbulent time?
That's the multi-billion-pound question, isn't it?
It certainly is. Something for you to ponder. We hope this deep dive has given you a clearer, maybe more nuanced view of what was a truly eventful decade for the UK. Definitely keep digging into these areas yourselves.